Her voice was sugar, but her hand forced mine down while her husband's grip bruised my arm. In the middle of a crowded bank, my own daughter was trying to steal the last $50,000 I had left, the money my husband and I saved for our future. One signature, and I'd lose everything. I thought I had no escape until I slipped a note to the bank manager that said, "Help. I'm being coerced. Please, Mom, just sign here." Vanessa's voice was as sweet and as persuasive as it had been when she was a little girl, begging me for candy money. But now, at 35, her hand pressed mine down on a pen, as her husband, Sebastian, held my arm with a grip that ached to my bones. We were in a bank, surrounded by people going about their normal business, oblivious to the drama unfolding at our table.
"It's just routine, Mom.
A small transfer to get some paperwork sorted."
Ow.
But I knew she was lying. I had seen the documents. It wasn't a small transfer. It was everything. My $50,000 in savings. All that was left after my husband Peter passed away 3 years ago. The bank's air conditioning hummed over our heads, but I felt a hot, sticky wave of panic. The fluorescent lights hurt my eyes, and the sound of the cash counting machines hammered in my temples. Vanessa smiled for the security cameras as if we were a normal family doing normal business. Sebastian smiled too, but his fingers remained clamped on my arm like a vice. "Come on, Olivia," he whispered in my ear. "Don't make this harder than it has to be." His breath smelled of cigarettes and cold coffee. "Think of your granddaughter, Caroline. Think of everything we've done for you. Everything they had done for me." The irony burned in my throat. I was the one who had paid for Vanessa's college.
I
was the one who had given her the down payment for her house. I was the one who had covered Sebastian's debts when he lost his job last year. $20,000 they never paid back. And now they were here, trying to steal the last thing I had. My widow's pension. The money Peter and I had saved over 46 years of marriage. My hands trembled as I held the pen. The ink looked so black, so final on the white paper. One signature, and it would all be over. One signature, and I would be left with nothing. Vanessa leaned in, closer, her sweet perfume mixing with the anxious scent on my skin. "Mom, trust me, it's for your own good. You can't manage this much money at your age." Her words were poisoned honey, each syllable calculated to disarm me. I looked around desperately. The young teller watched us from his window, but he seemed busy with other customers. An older woman waited in line, flipping through an insurance brochure. A man in a suit checked his
phone.
No one noticed what was happening. No one saw that I was being robbed in broad daylight in public with smiles and affectionate words. Sebastian squeezed my arm tighter, and a choked sob escaped my throat. "Shut up," he muttered through a smile. "We don't want to make a scene, do we?" His eyes were cold as ice, and for the first time, I realized this man was capable of anything. Vanessa, my own daughter, the child I had breastfed and raised, sat there and watched her husband hurt me without doing a thing to stop him. The wall clock read 3:15 in the afternoon, a regular Tuesday that had become the worst nightmare of my life.
I
remembered how I had gotten here. Vanessa had called me that morning, her voice filled with fake urgency.
"Mom, we need to go to the bank.
There are some papers you have to sign. It's important." She hadn't given me any details. She never gave me details, just orders disguised as pleas. The bank manager, an older man named Mr. Thompson, approached our table with a professional smile. "Everything all right here? Can I help with anything?" His presence gave me a spark of hope. This was my moment, my only chance. My heart hammered so hard I thought it would break through my chest. I quickly scribbled on a piece of paper on the table. "Help. I'm being coerced. I don't want to sign." I folded the note and slid it to him when Vanessa and Sebastian were distracted looking at the documents. Mr. Thompson discreetly opened the note, and I saw his eyes widen. His professional expression transformed into one of controlled alarm. For a moment that felt like an eternity, our eyes met, and in that instant I knew he understood perfectly. Without saying a word, he discreetly pressed a button under his desk. The silent alarm. My heart calmed for the first time all afternoon. Someone was going to help me. But to understand how I had reached this moment, I need to tell you the full story. I need you to understand who I was before I became this desperate woman in a bank, silently begging for help. My name is Olivia Anderson. I am 69 years old. And all my life, I was the woman who always said yes. The woman who always gave, always helped, and always sacrificed for her family, especially for Vanessa. I remember the day she was born as if it were yesterday. It was a spring morning, and after 12 hours of labor, she finally came into the world, small, perfect, with the green eyes she inherited from her father. I held her in my arms and promised her she would never lack for anything, that she would always have my love, my support, and my protection.
I
Kept that promise for 35 years, but now I realize I may have kept it too well. When Vanessa was 5, her father and I worked 2 jobs each to buy her the pink bicycle she wanted so badly for her birthday. It cost $200, a fortune for us back then, but it was worth it to see her smile. When she turned 15, she wanted to go to a summer camp that cost $1,500. I sold my grandmother's jewelry to pay for it. When she graduated from high school, she insisted on going to a private university. "Mom, it's my dream," she'd say with tears in her eyes. "I can't go to a state school. What will my friends think?" The tuition was $40,000 a year. $40,000 we didn't have. Her father and I took out a loan using our house as collateral. I worked extra shifts at the hospital cafeteria for 4 years, cleaning tables late into the night, my feet swollen and my back aching. Also, Vanessa could have her college degree. She graduated with honors in business administration, and I cried with pride. At the ceremony, I thought I could finally rest that I had fulfilled my duty as a mother, but Vanessa had other plans. At 25, she met Sebastian at a dive bar. He was handsome. I couldn't deny that, but there was something in his eyes I didn't like. A coldness, a calculation that put me on edge. When he introduced himself, the first thing he did was ask if the house was paid off. Not "It's nice to meet you, ma'am." No, just a question about money. I should have seen that as a red flag. Their wedding cost $50,000. "Mom, I'm only getting married once," Vanessa pleaded. I wanted to be perfect. I wanted to object, to tell her we didn't have that kind of money, that her father had just been diagnosed with diabetes and we needed to save for his medication. But I saw her so happy, so excited, that I couldn't say no. We took out another loan. The wedding was beautiful, I have to admit. Vanessa looked radiant in her white lace dress, like a storybook princess. Sebastian smiled, but I noticed his eyes were constantly scanning the wealthier guests, calculating and evaluating. After their honeymoon in Europe, another $5,000 expense we had to cover because they couldn't possibly go without one, Vanessa and Sebastian moved into a small apartment. For 6 months, I thought they had finally grown up, that they would stand on their own 2 feet. But then the call started. "Mom, the refrigerator broke." "Mom, the car needs repairs." "Mom, Sebastian lost his job and we can't pay rent." It was always an emergency, always urgent. And I always said yes. $500 here, $1,000 there. Small amounts that, when added up, represented my financial peace of mind. 2 years into their marriage, Vanessa announced they wanted to buy a house. "It's an investment, Mom. A step toward the future." The house cost $200,000 and they needed $40,000 for the down payment. They had no savings, of course. Their credit was bad, of course. "Could you help us, Mom? Just with the down payment. I promise we'll pay you back every penny." That was the biggest promise Vanessa ever made me. And also the biggest lie. I withdrew $40,000 from the retirement fund I had been building for 20 years. Every dollar represented extra hours worked, meals I didn't buy, clothes I didn't allow myself, vacations I never took. But I gave it to them. I sat in the bank that day, signing the early withdrawal papers with trembling hands, as the bank officer explained the penalties I'd have to pay. A 10% penalty, $4, 000 I'd lose just for taking out my own money early. Are you sure about this, ma'am? The employee asked with genuine concern. Once you withdraw these funds, there's no turning back. I told him I was sure. It was for my daughter. It was for her future. It was for giving her the stability I never had. I signed the papers and walked to Vanessa's house with the check in my hand, feeling like a hero. I was going to save the day. I was going to make my daughter's American dream possible. Vanessa cried when I handed her the check. Tears of happiness, I thought. You're the best mom in the world, she said, hugging me tight. I don't know how to thank you for this. I promise, Mom. I promise I'll pay you back every last cent, with interest. Sebastian seemed emotional too, though his hug felt cold and calculated. Thanks, Ma, he said. This means a lot to us. They moved into the house 3 months later. It was beautiful, I have to admit. 2 stories for bedrooms, a large backyard with space for a pool. Vanessa invited me to the housewarming, and I walked through every room with pride. My sacrifice had been worth it. My daughter had her own home. But the calls didn't stop. If anything, they became more frequent. Mom, we need furniture for the house. We can't live on the floor. $10,000 for a new living room set. Mom, the house needs a new fence. The neighbors are complaining. $3,000 for a wooden fence. Mom, we want to renovate the kitchen. It's so old, and the stove doesn't work well. $8,000 for new appliances. Every time I hesitated, every time I mentioned that I had expenses too, that money didn't grow on trees, Vanessa knew exactly which buttons to push. Mom, I thought you'd be happy to see us doing well. I thought you'd want your granddaughter to grow up in a nice house. And so Caroline, my 8-year-old granddaughter, the light of my eyes, became the most powerful argument in Vanessa's manipulative arsenal. Caroline had been born when Vanessa was 27. And from the moment I saw her, I knew she was different. She had her grandfather's curious eyes and a smile that could melt the hardest heart. But more than that, she had something her mother had lost somewhere along the way: genuine kindness. When Caroline visited me, she would bring me drawings she had made at school, little crayon artworks where I was a giant grandma with huge arms, always smiling. I made you big because your love is big, Grandma, she would explain in her sweet little voice. It was impossible to say no to anything that was for Caroline. Ballet classes, $200 a month. Piano lessons, $300 a month. Summer camp, $2,500. Special clothes for ballet recitals, $500 per outfit. Caroline has talent, Mom. We can't let her potential go to waste for lack of money. Meanwhile, my own financial situation was deteriorating. Peter had developed complications from his diabetes. His medications cost $400 a month, and insurance only covered a portion. He needed special injections, regular visits to the specialist, and a strict diet that required more expensive foods. I worked double shifts I would come home from the hospital with my feet bleeding inside my shoes, only to cook, clean, and care for my husband. Why don't you ask Vanessa for help? My sister Clara suggested during one of her visits. You've spent over $100,000 on her in the last 5 years. Surely, she can help with some of the medical expenses. But I couldn't ask my daughter for money. It was my job to care for my family, not the other way around. It was my responsibility to be strong, to be the pillar that held everyone up. Peter passed away early one Tuesday morning, 3 years after his diagnosis. I was holding his hand when he took his last breath, and I swear I felt half of my soul leave with him. We had been married for 46 years. He was my partner, my best friend, my accomplice in all the difficult decisions about Vanessa. After his funeral, I sat alone in our empty house and realized I was completely broke. The medical expenses, combined with everything I had given Vanessa, had drained our savings. Peter's life insurance gave me $50,000. It was all I had left to live on for the rest of my days. I deposited it into a savings account and promised myself I would be more careful. I was going to make that money last. I was going to learn to say no. But Vanessa had other plans. 2 months after the funeral, Sebastian lost his job at a construction company. It was his racist boss's fault, Vanessa explained, crying on the phone. He fired him for no reason. Now, we can't pay the mortgage. Mom, they're going to foreclose on the house. Caroline will have to change schools. She'll lose all her friends. They asked me for $20,000 just to stay afloat until Sebastian found another job. 6 months max. We'll pay you back with interest. I promise. It was almost half of what I had left, but the thought of Caroline losing her home broke my heart. I gave them the money, again. Sebastian found a job 3 months later, but the money never came back. When I asked about it, there was always an excuse. We're paying off old debts, Mom. We had unexpected expenses with the car. Caroline needed to go to the dentist, and insurance didn't cover everything. And now here I was in this bank, watching them try to steal the last $30,000 I had left. My daughter, the child I had raised with so much love, was sitting next to her abusive husband, smiling for the cameras as they planned to leave me in absolute poverty. Mr. Thompson returned to our table, accompanied by 2 security guards who tried to look casual, but I could see the tension in their posture. Vanessa and Sebastian hadn't noticed anything yet. They were too focused on the papers, reviewing the numbers over and over like vultures, calculating their spoils. "Excuse me," Mr. Thompson said in a calm but firm voice. "I need to review some details of this transaction before we proceed." Sebastian looked up, and for the first time I saw a flicker of nervousness in his eyes. "What kind of details?" "Everything's in order. Mrs. Anderson wants to transfer the money to her daughter's account. It's a family decision." His hand was still squeezing my arm, but he was doing it more discreetly now, aware that other eyes were watching. "I understand," Mr. Thompson replied, "but bank protocol requires me to verify that all parties involved are acting voluntarily and without external pressure." His words were like a bolt of lightning cutting through the storm of my desperation. He looked directly into my eyes. "Mrs. Anderson, would you mind accompanying me to my office for a private verification? It's standard procedure for transactions of this magnitude." Vanessa immediately tensed. "That's not necessary, sir. My mother has already decided. Haven't you, Mom?" Her smile had become forced, artificial, like a mask that was cracking. "We can do everything right here. We don't want to cause you any trouble." But Mr. Thompson was already standing, extending his hand to me. "It's bank policy, ma'am. There are no exceptions. It will only take a few minutes." The guards positioned themselves discreetly near our table. I stood up, my legs trembling, and for the first time all afternoon, Sebastian had to release my arm. Vanessa grabbed my other hand. "Mom, don't make this difficult. Just sign the papers, and let's go home. Caroline is waiting for us." She used my granddaughter's name as if it were a master key that would unlock all the doors of my resistance. "I'll be right back," I murmured, not daring to look her in the eyes. I knew if I saw her face, if I saw that innocent little girl expression she had perfected over the years, I might waver. I might give in one more time. Mr. Thompson's office was small but cozy, with pictures of his family on his desk and a little cactus in the window. He sat across from me and closed the door. "Mrs. Anderson," he said gently, "tell me what's really going on." And then, like a dam that finally breaks, it all came out. I told him about the years of manipulation, about the money I had given without getting anything back, about the broken promises and the lies wrapped in pretty paper. I told him how Sebastian had hurt my arm, how Vanessa had used Caroline's name to emotionally blackmail me. I explained that those $30,000 were all I had left to live on, that without them, I would end up on the streets. Mr. Thompson listened without interrupting, nodding occasionally, taking notes in a notebook. When I finished my story, he sighed deeply. "Ma'am, what you're describing is financial coercion and, in some cases, elder abuse. What your daughter and son-in-law are doing is illegal." Illegal? The word echoed in my head. All these years I had thought it was my duty, my responsibility as a mother to give until it hurt. It had never occurred to me that what Vanessa was doing could have a legal name, that it could be a crime. "What can I do?" I asked, my voice breaking. "She's my daughter. I don't want to get her in trouble, but I can't go on like this. I don't have anything left to give." Mr. Thompson leaned forward. "First, we're going to cancel this transaction. Second, I'm going to document everything you've told me. Third, I'm going to give you information on legal and protective resources for seniors.
He paused.
But, ma'am, the most important decision is yours to make. Are you ready to say no? Are you ready to set boundaries, even if it means your daughter gets angry? That question hit me like a punch to the gut. Was I ready?